Good afternoon, and welcome to the final City Club meeting of the Friday Forum City Club meeting of this season. We'll resume again in September. Today is July 27th, and we're pleased to have you here for the state's premier civic affairs event. I'm Pat McCormick, president of City Club, and I'd like to welcome members and guests alike, those of you who join us here today in the Governor Hotel, and those of you who are listening on OPB Radio or watching on Portland Community Media's CityNet 30. Today, our panel will discuss some of Oregon's most creative and enjoyable summertime events. But first, some announcements. City Club's corporate and media partners are essential to the vitality and sustainability of the club's activities. I'd like to thank our generous media partners, including Oregon Business Magazine. I'd also like to extend our deepest appreciation to the Friday Forum corporate sponsors on this, the final Friday of their sponsorship term. Please join me in a warm round of applause for our spring sponsors, ESCO, Morel Inc., Northwest Natural, and Schwabe, Williamson, and Wyatt. We're grateful for your support. We're grateful for your support and for your commitment to the City Club mission. If your company or firm would like to support City Club's mission through sponsorship, please contact the friendly staff in the back of the room or call the City Club office. Though Friday forums are wrapping up for the season, other events are going strong. You can join our Citizens Read book group or take a tour of the Food Innovation Center in August. As the fall begins, please join City Club for a citizen salon on the future of baseball in Oregon, hosted by Board of Governors member Ken Ray, or for our Bright Lights Portland Trivia Challenge with Portland's mayoral candidates Charlie Hales and Jefferson Smith. You can learn more about these events on our website, pdxcityclub.org. As always, we will be welcoming City Club members to the microphone after the forum for a question and answer session with our speakers. In addition, we'll invite all of our audience members to locate the index cards that are on your tables. Write your questions on them during the forum and hold them up when I ask. City Club staff will collect these cards, which I will then read from the microphone during the question and answer period. We are sure you'll come up with some great questions for today's speakers. And now, our program. During Portland's brief but beautiful summer, our city's creative culture really comes alive. Today, we'll be taking a verbal tour through some of Portland's hottest summertime activities. Today's panelists will discuss how their areas of expertise, film, food, music, and art, enrich summer in the city and bring Portland's vaunted creative culture to life. Today, we welcome 5 guests to our stage. At the Portland Institute for Contemporary Art, Executive Director Victoria Fry manages PICA's vision and direction and is responsible for all aspects of the organization's operations and management. A pioneer on the Portland art scene, Victoria has been a long-standing arts advocate in our community. Thomas Phillipson is the Regional Services Manager for the Northwest Film Center, a sister organization to the Portland Art Museum here. Thomas is the Chief Liaison for the Film Center to the community of Northwest filmmakers, which includes those in Alaska, British Columbia, Idaho, Montana, as well as Oregon and Washington State. Zale Schonborn founded Pick-a-thon in 1999 with the idea of creating a special weekend featuring the best music imaginable. Today, Pick-a-thon has grown into one of the top international music festivals focused on exploring the fine art aspects and nexus of music, design, sustainability, food, video, and community. Bolted Services principal Mike Thielen produces high-profile food events. Along with partner Carrie Welsh, Thielen teamed with Travel Oregon and Bon Appetit magazine to create the Feast of Portland, Portland's first large food festival to debut in September of this year. He contributes to the internationally televised show Unique Eats on the Cooking Channel. And finally, our moderator today is Barbara Steinfeld, the Vice President of Tourism for Travel Portland. There, she manages the international sales team responsible for promoting the Portland region as a prime destination for visitors from Asia, Europe, Canada, Oceania, and the USA. And without further ado, please help me welcome today's speakers.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here with a great representation of what's great about Portland's culture, especially in the summer. I have questions for each of you, and I'd like to start, and each of you just take a few minutes to answer. Tell us a little bit about each of your festivals or events, and how long has it been happening in Portland? And also, what was the impetus for the creation of each of your events? And why don't we start with Thomas?
Our wonderful outdoor movie series, Top Down, we call it Top Down, and that seems to have stuck. Started in 2004 out of just the idea from my boss, the director of the Film Center, Bill Foster. He came to me and said, what do you think about starting an outdoor movie series? And immediately, I mean, everybody thinks that's a great idea, I think. So we were able to get a lot of excitement around it, and the first thing we had to do was find a good venue. And we were leaning toward a place down toward the waterfront, and then Bill came to me and said, go check out the rooftop of the Hotel Deluxe's parking garage. And I thought, parking garage? I don't know about that, but I went up there, hightailed it over there, and went up there and looked around, and it's beautiful. It's a full city block on 5 stories up. You see the West Hills behind you, the Fremont Bridge in the distance. It's beautiful. So that's the location is kind of what makes it really unique, along with the programming, which we like to think is very unique to the Northwest Film Center. A wide range of films, which I can talk about later.
My name is Zale Schoenborn. Pickathon was something that was started as a long-standing desire to kind of celebrate all the music that I loved and my friends loved. And as it started small, we kind of knew the mix of music was a little eclectic for the general public, but we put it out there and stayed pretty small and kind of grew on the word of mouth. That was in 1999, and so here we are 14 years later. We started catching on, and the idea of being able to put all this amazing music from different parts of the genres of the musical world that is really the essence of different musical worlds, and that you may be comfortable with something, but not all of it from entering the festival, and that sense of surprise has really been kind of the thing for us we've been nurturing from a curation point of view, and by putting that surrounding the settings where we're at now, Pendarvis Farm, has kind of become an integral part of what we do. It's an 80-acre farm, if you've never been there, that's out in Southeast, out by Happy Valley. And we have been going at it for about 2 weeks, and we've got another week to go of just humongous sculptural structures, 7 stages. It takes about 20 people working that long, 10, 11-hour days to build this thing. So we'll be ready here shortly.
Thanks for taking time to be with us today, right in the heart of when you have to get ready for your event. That's great.
So I represent PICA's TBA Festival. It's a time-based art festival. It is 10 years old this year. We're celebrating the 10th anniversary. It is a multidisciplinary festival that showcases work in all genres of the performing and contemporary arts. It's dance, theater, new music, visual arts, media-based forms. It was started 10 years ago, kind of understanding audience behaviors and the shifting desires of people and the growing population of Portland. We looked at people's desires to participate more socially and intellectually in the work. When we first started this, we were presenting in a regular season. You could come, you could watch, and maybe you could do a Q&A with the artist afterwards, post-show talk. So TBA was a way to create a social environment. It is 10 days of an immersive experience. You can take workshops with artists. You can go to noontime chats where you're discussing the work and the ideas behind it, or the intersections between the work that's in the festival with the artists and panelists. You can see the work all over the city, or you can engage socially through the late night event, which is, a food court, beer garden, and late night showcase of more casually presented work generally, but not entirely. So it was the impetus was really trying to create a vehicle for people to get more deeply engaged and sort of better understand contemporary forms. It's been very, very successful for us. And for the community, it's now grown from like 7,500 people to 30,000 people. So,
Mike.
Mike Thielen with Feast Portland. Feast Portland is a 4-day food and drink festival starting September 20th through 23rd, coming up in about 2 months now. I think there's a lot of great food events in Portland. Right now, if you look at the tents on the waterfront, there's a Brewers Fest. As we speak, IPNC has started. It's really one of the great global celebrations of Pinot Noir. So there's a lot of great food events out there, but what we really wanted to do was to bring it all together. Portland's really emerged as it's really one of the continent's most renowned culinary destinations. And we wanted to create a festival that would bring together all the elements that we all love about where we live. The chefs, the coffee roasters, the baristas, the brewers, the winemakers, the farmers, everyone, and really bring it together under one tent. Not only did we want to showcase local, we also like my colleagues, we wanted to bring in a lot of the top international and national talent, create senses of collaboration between our local chefs and artisans and experts with those from around the world. And also donate all of our net proceeds to Share Our Strength and Partners for Hunger-Free Oregon to highlight hunger in Oregon, as well as, really highlighting Oregon and Portland as culinary destinations. So that was really what got us going.
Thank you. You can see that each of these events is quintessentially Portland. It really takes the essence of what we are and puts it out there in a festival. So tell us a little bit about how you personally got involved in these events. How did it happen that you are doing this event? What's your background?
Well, as I said before, our director, Bill Foster, just came to me and said, make it happen years ago. And so, sure. And it comes from a natural interest of my own, of course. And what I do the rest of the year is deal with Northwest filmmakers specifically, and I try to give them resources to make films and thrive. And I have the Northwest Filmmakers Festival in November. But this is something completely different and a whole lot of fun. The films that I program for this are all over the map, from zombie movies to... Last night was our opening night for this year, and we showed the Preston Sturges film, The Palm Beach Story, a classic screwball comedy, which was really wonderful. And I get to show people like all my favorite kinds of crazy films. Next week, for instance, we're showing my all-time favorite as a child, at least. Maybe still is, but I won't admit that publicly. This isn't working right. The Ghost of Mr. Chicken with Don Knotts. It's a wonderful film, and I'm really excited to share that with anybody who hasn't seen it. It's something I watched as a kid on TV all the time. But later we're showing Drugstore Cowboy, the Gus Van Sant film, a quintessential Portland film, if ever there was one. And we're finishing up with the Tammy Show, which has nothing to do with anybody named Tammy, but it's this incredible concert film from 1964 that has Marvin Gaye, the Supremes, the Rolling Stones, the Beach Boys, and on and on and on. It's this great concert film shot in, I think, Pasadena or Santa Monica. I get those mixed up. And it just has like screaming schoolgirls and the whole thing, and go-go dancers and stuff like that. So Top Down is fun, and that's why I love it. That's why I'm part of it.
When I moved to Portland, we originally came from Boulder, and when that was kind of a graduate school program place where I was for a couple years, and there I fell into a kind of a pretty diverse music community. And when I first came out here, we wanted to have being able to play. I was in bluegrass community, still playing mandolin, but I always loved all these other styles of music. I loved music in general, and my sense was my style of music, bluegrass particularly, was kind of stuck in a factional musical world, which was like, you have a bluegrass festival, you have a blues festival, you have an Irish festival. And I was like, well, no, let's just put all this music together. And that was kind of how I first got started, is thinking, we can even have rock and roll and indie. And I mean, there's really no boundaries in that kind of dialogue. But it was difficult at first because those communities are so trained to come to just the blues festival that they don't mix and match their music in a festival. So the kind of idea of that just was at the core of thinking, okay, well, there's 90 people here the first year. We're doing okay. Well, that includes dogs and kids and stuff, performers. We had a heck of a potluck, really pretty good food. And, you know, we just kind of grew that way. And now we're really kind of at capacity out there and have kind of involved along the way, have left these big sandboxes open for artists, food, community design, sustainability. We are the first event for a music festival. It doesn't have any plastic. We have no single use, like no plates, no dishware that you throw away. And that's all kind of parts of the things that we learned how to make the experience around the music better. It is a music festival. It is kind of an artistic version, but those elements are what makes it really fun and why we keep doing it, because it's very personal reflection, kind of like a fine art approach to the design.
I can't wait to go. I want to try to go next weekend. They open next weekend. I think we haven't all described when these take place. Thomas's is ongoing throughout the summer. Yeah, okay. So I don't exactly know how I got involved in this. I've been on the board of PICA. I was on the founding board of directors for PICA. So when this idea of putting new work, innovative forms, contemporary ideas into Portland, I bought in right away. I owned a gallery at the time, and I said, I want to do this. I want to be part of this. And I just got deeper and deeper and deeper involved until I ended up, 17 years later, running the organization.
First, I just have to say, Zale, for a guy who's pulling off a big event next weekend, looks remarkably calm. So, very, very impressive. How did Feast get started? For myself, I have my co-founder who's not here today, Carrie Walsh, who moved to Portland a couple of years ago and has sort of been a long admirer of Portland's food scene. She was vice president of public relations at Food Network. And Carrie was also one of the people very instrumental in helping to create the New York City Wine and Food Festival, which is one of the foremost in the country, which not only is a big festival, it raises over $1 million a year to help end childhood hunger. So it's a really incredible vehicle for something good, too. We met about 2 years ago. I had been really wanting to start a food festival in Portland, and I think, the first time we met, it really just took off. But I think, beyond the personal, I think it was just really I and a lot of the other chefs in Portland and a lot of our colleagues were moving within these national events, and we'd go to places like Austin or New York and participate in these festivals. And there's a lot of people within our culinary community that do participate in these events. And Portland has more bounty. Oregon and Portland have more bounty and agricultural bounty and chef talent and creativity than really any place in the country right now, and that's the truth. So it just became more and more apparent that we could save ourselves a lot of time on airplanes, and we could work with the community here, which we were working with anyways, across the country, and I think it's just come together so incredibly well. But that really what drove it, I think, was just place here, and it's kind of just hopefully the next step and what so many have laid the foundation for over the last half century.
Thank you. I just want to mention at this juncture that why is a tourism person sitting up here moderating this panel? Because of cultural tourism, the idea that an event like Feast or PICA's TBA Festival is something that draws people to Portland from outside the area. And when we get the people coming in from outside, staying in the hotels, and spending their money here in the community, it's great for all of us, and that's why Travel Portland is strongly behind all the events that are sitting up here today, and many, many more, as we'll get to. So now you have a chance to really tell us something like what is some of the most memorable things that have happened at your event, either something funny, memorable, great. Go for it.
Oh, let's see. Last night at Top Down, we celebrated a 14th wedding anniversary, which was fairly exciting. We packed the house many years, and it's just really exciting every time you go up there for Top Down to see all these people milling about, and it's like a big happy hour buzz before the film starts, and we have music playing. We have bands. I failed to mention that before. But it's just each individual film pulls a different audience, so it's great to see who's going to be up there week to week.
Tough questions here. Favorite moments, boy, it's if you come to the festival or if you've been to Pickathon, it is an incredibly personal question because you all never will get the same answer. So I'll keep it to myself. It happens to be every year we kind of look at that year and we kind of look back and we're like, geez, there's no way we can hit that mountain again. So it's been pretty steady for us every year. It's been felt like we've reached something that was really special. Like within each weekend for me, I try super hard to actually be mostly off during the festival. That might sound weird, but why do all the work and not enjoy the music? So I love to watch performances. There's a couple of the venues I love that we have. We have one deep in the woods. We built like a conceptual wood structure with a gentleman named Mark Lakeman out of natural materials. It's hard to describe, but you have to hike to it. It's in a valley that is surrounded by this kind of wood-like sculpture framing the stage. And almost everything we do out there I love. The artists really respond really well to that kind of design and beauty, and we do a lot of things where we encourage them to hang out and we feed them and take care of them all weekend, and so those performances from that environment have just stuck out. I really remember last year around 1 a.m. there was a band named Future Islands we had last year in one of our smaller indoor barns that just was a really strange act for us. We either got a love-hate, but that year Future Islands kind of made a huge impression on me last year, and that is one of probably 50 things I remember.
Zale, I have a question. You had mentioned that in the very first year you had 90 people attend. How many people attend now?
We're somewhat inefficient if I throw you the staff. So first I'll give you the paid. The paid is somewhere in the order of around 3,000 to 36, so be in that order. We almost have that many people, others. We have lots of artists, and many of those people add up, so yeah.
Well, I love the construct of TBA because it is social, and there are many, many, many surprises that can happen as a result. So what's fun is that you get to meet the artists in the beer garden and talk about the work, or surprising kind of relationships happen between the artists. But one of the funniest or most interesting moments for me was an opening night. I think it was 2006, and we did a big performance in Pioneer Square. And the then artistic director was Mark Russell, and he had mentioned that he felt that Portlanders looked at that river as the Great Divide. And he, as an outsider, he said, what's the deal? There's a whole bunch of bridges over it. It's really small. So he decided on opening night he was going to make people walk across the bridge and engage on the other side. So he did an event in Pioneer Square, and then got marching bands to march people across the Hawthorne Bridge to the late night events. And then they all realized at 2 o'clock in the morning that their cars are on the west side of the river. or they biked with us. But the most amazing moment in that was we opened that night with with a performance of Laurie Anderson. And Laurie Anderson came and was standing on that little balcony overlooking Pioneer Square watching, and when the marching band came up and started leading people out of the square, she kind of got really excited and kind of jumped up and went, "Do we get to follow them?" It was quite beautiful.
Mike, I know you don't have memories from your festival because it's brand new, so maybe you could tell us, since Feast is coming up, and what is really unique and going to be special about this event?
Well, I think first and foremost is a sense of collaboration. We're bringing in a lot of folks from around the country, but everything is creating a collaborative spirit between our chefs and artisans and those from around the country and around the world. So what can you expect? We have 7 dinners, where chefs like, for example, Jen Lewis from Lincoln Restaurant is teaming up with April Bloomfield from the Spotted Pig in New York City. They're doing a very small dinner together. We have 7 dinners like that. We have lots of daytime programming. We're turning Pioneer Courthouse Square, the city's living room, into the city's dining room for a couple of days and having, chef demos and a lot of the best regional wineries, breweries, and that's our grand tasting event, which happens on Friday and Saturday. Classes, panels, demos during the daytime. Nighttime, we're doing these big theme parties in addition to the dinners. So Director Park is going to be transformed into the nation's largest sandwich party, where we have chefs from all over the country making high-end sandwiches paired with Widmer beers. And Portland Monthly is working with us on that event. We have an Asian-style night market. We're transforming the Eco Trust building and block into a big party celebrating, Asian-style street food with Andy Ricker from Pok Pok is helping us put that together. And a number of chefs, everyone from, Greg Gourdet from Departure to Paul Key, who just won Top Chef from Austin, Texas. Saturday night, we're doing a big event called High Comfort, over-the-top comfort food with just incredible chefs like Kathy Wims and Vitaly Paley and Philippe Boulot and Greg Higgins and all the really great chefs in the region, with guests like Chris Cosentino from San Francisco, Brad Farmery from New York, and even Amanda Freitag from the Food Network. So just bringing these people together, throwing these amazing events that just get everyone collaborating. But I think overall, for this event or any event, what makes the best memories, it's just the human factor. Bringing people together is just such a great thing, and creating any type of collaboration where friendships forms and deeper relationships form, where people come back year after year because they see their colleagues and they make new friends. And I think on a very micro level, that just sounds so simple, but I believe that it's all of those relationships that really help expand the influence of our city collectively and make it very, very special.
And now is your time to give us the details. So specifically, how can people participate in your event? Give us some logistics.
Well, for Top Down, the first thing you should do is go to the Northwest Film Center's website, nwfilm.org, and look for Top Down, and it'll give you all the logistics of it right there, but I'll just run through a little bit of it. Or I'll just give you an idea of what to expect. So the doors open at 7. Or the elevator doors do, because it opens up on the 5th floor, and you're out there and it's lovely. And as I said before, it's sort of a happy hour sort of feeling there. Gracie's, the restaurant inside the Hotel Deluxe, caters food there, and they have a full bar, so you can grab a drink, grab a bite. We have beer from Sierra Nevada Brewing that we sell, the Film Center, and you mingle for a while. At 8 o'clock, the music starts. And we have a different band every week, and this year Music Millennium is booking all the bands, so we've got some great bands going on there. And then when the sun goes down, which changes from week to week, we get another 5 minutes every week. But whenever that is, that's when the screen lights up and we start the show. So just it's a flat $9 admission fee. Go to the website nwfilm.org, and it'll give you all the details and the schedule.
Well, Pickathon's coming up, so if you're planning on going, it's not this weekend, it's next weekend, the 3rd through the 5th of August. So it's pretty easy. You can just go to pickathon.com. I wouldn't recommend, you could come to the gate, but at this point we won't know how many tickets we have at the gate. It's something you can camp at. It's actually, the 80 acres can fully camp everybody, but it's also something you can easily drive to since it's only 20 minutes away. It happens to be kind of right on the edge of the kind of urban-rural divide. So when you're out there, you got views of Mount Hood, right there in the edge of Clackamas, Portland divide on this kind of southeast corner of Happy Valley. So it kind of feels like you're way, way far away from Portland, but you're really only 10 miles. So yeah, it's pretty easy.
So again, most of our information's on our website at pica.org, pica.org. The festival starts this September 6th this year, and we run 6th through 16th. This is our 10th anniversary, so our opening night this year is going to have a sit-down dinner out in front of the old Washington High School. We've been there now this will be our 4th year presenting some of the work there. The festival takes place all over the city in theaters and all over the city, and in our new facility at 415 Southwest 10th. We'll have some visual arts exhibitions, tickets and passes, so you can get a pass that'll allow you to go to 6 events, or you can get an immersion pass that'll allow you to go to anything, anytime, kind of gives you the flexibility to just pick up and decide where to go and what to do that day, or you can buy individual tickets. So it's pica.org, and it's coming up in September 6th through 16th.
Feastportland.com, simple. All of our ticket event descriptions, everything is available there and just tells you everything you need to know about our event. Many ways to interact with Feast. You can purchase an all-in pass that pretty much gets you into everything, excluding the dinners, or you can purchase a la carte. We really want everyone to be able to participate in that. And feastportland.com, full descriptions and everything you need to know.
Great. Now, we only were able to feature 4 of our wonderful events, and there's so much more happening in the city during this time. Art in the Pearl is coming up. It's over every Labor Day. We have Music Fest Northwest. I know Travel Portland is specifically promoting TBA, Feast, Music Fest Northwest, because they're all touching each other on either end and overlapping during the month of September. It's a great campaign for us to do. But I wondered if any of you are involved with any other events that are happening or that you know of or that you've worked on during August and September that are coming up in Portland that you could tell us about so we could give somebody else a little plug while we're at it.
The Film Center is partnering with Flicks on the Bricks as well, so that's, I would say, more family-oriented films in Pioneer Square. That's going to go on. And then it's Portland, so and in August you should be camping. You should go to Oaks Park once during the summer at least, and you should be in an outdoor cafe enjoying some good food and drink.
Agree. We work with a lot of different. I think all of us have many interweaved people that we interact with that kind of come from all over the draws of Portland. So some of the food, we have a lot of some of the food that's going to be at Feast is going to be at Pickathon. We work hard on trying to just make food a focus, and a lot of the artists are, you'll see all over town. Mark Lakeman, Mar Ricketts from Guildworks build some of these large structures. The people that we work with on filming and broadcast, which we have a ridiculous 160 people working on a broadcast team, are involved in all kinds of events around town. And I think it touches on all of they're all kind of wrapped into the name brands that you kind of have said, but I always like to kind of point out that in each of these events, there are a sum total of an amazing collection of artists that, this kind of our role is to create space for when those artists can kind of work together, and so that it's not really just a music festival or just film or just any one thing. It's this kind of immersive experience that really brings out the essence of the real role that you're trying to focus on. So I say go to all these events and go camping and do the cafe and just be outside. That's important.
Because you can. I was reminded just a couple of days ago of how many events are in the Portland Public Parks, and they're free. I was in Nick Fish's office and pulled 3 or 4 brochures up. There's some really incredible events in the neighborhood parks. There is a film series. There's a music series. This is a perfect time to do that. And I drove by Wallace Park a few days ago, and there was an event there, and it's my neighborhood. I hadn't even thought to attend it. And I got all 3 brochures and sort of mapped out what to do next.
I think the food lineups for Pickathon and TBA could stand on their own as food festivals. They're really good this year, so go to those. I can't get enough of the Portland Farmers Market. I mean, just what a tremendous spectacle and incredible representation of our city that is. Mondays in Pioneer Square now. Summer market's just really incredible. Bought some fist-sized berries the other day, like we can do this time of year. But I think overall Portland is an incredible place. Oregon is an incredible place this time of year. Spend lots of time at the Arboretum. It's like the world's greatest tree museum, and just enjoy the summer.
Thanks. We put a few brochures outside on the table so that people could pick up information about the Music on Main, for example, that takes place outside of the Performing Arts Center, and also what goes on in Pioneer Courthouse Square as far as outdoor events going. And one thing that I have to mention as a cultural tourism person is our art season starts in September. So with all of these wonderful outdoor events going on, we also have the gearing up of the theater and the dance and the music the ballet, the opera, the symphony. Don't forget Tchaikovsky on the waterfront with the 1812 Overture every September. So all those things are gearing up in addition to these wonderful festivals. I just want to throw that out there before we answer some questions. So are we ready to turn it over for questions?
Thank you. That was really interesting, and I'm now looking forward to hearing even more so we can actually get out and start enjoying the summer. If you have a written question on an index card, please hold that up high now so that the City Club staff will be able to collect it from you. Thank you very much for any of the questions you may have. The first question for our speaker, as always, will be from our Friday Forum host, Mac Pritchard. Mac is the founder and the president of Pritchard Communications, a public relations and social media firm in Portland. Mac joined City Club in 2004, served on the Agora Committee for 2 years, and joined the Board of Governors in 2010. Mac?
Thank you, Pat. Our moderator talked about how each of your events exemplifies a part of Portland's culture, and you also had terrific suggestions about other events happening this summer that people should consider attending. I wonder, and this is, I know, a challenging question, but if thinking about a summer reading list, perhaps, in those terms, if you had to pick one book or recording or film or other piece of art that you think exemplifies Portland's culture, what would it be?
Other than our own?
I had to go first. That is tough. You know, maybe just because Pickathon might be on my mind, and you did, I could get out by saying some music. I would listen to some Wilco, maybe, that always puts me in a summer sort of mood, and my wife and I kind of follow them all over the place, so that would be good. And, you know, there are many summer movies that are great, but usually you don't want to be inside watching movies, so winter is the time to do that. But, you know, come to Top Down and see them outside.
My brain is blank. Pickathon is around the corner. But I would say anything you can see that just is spontaneous. I love kind of the format of summer, having some spontaneity where you look down and you read, oh, there's this great speaker that's going to be here, or I'm going to go to Mississippi Studios and go see some music. Just try to stay spontaneous, and I think those kind of great moments are going to come.
Spontaneity is a great idea. I have to say, I drank the Kool-Aid, and I think Pica and TBA's festival is, you know, I live for it, as does his wife, apparently. There are, but what happens simultaneously is Music Fest Northwest, and what I like is the intersection between the two events, that you have all these people hitting nighttime out in all the clubs all over town. At the same time, you've got Pica running a late night club over at the high school, and we have people coming and going from all the theaters in town. So the intersection of those two events creates for a really great environment that time of year.
I think a good summer guide, it's a cookbook. I mean, there's a lot of great Pacific Northwest cookbooks, but Alice Waters with Shape East wrote the book Vegetables, and we have incredible vegetable bounty in Oregon, and that's a really good way of kind of working through the list. She just tells you how to cook them in various ways. I would say purchase that, go to the farmer's market or wherever you buy your produce, and just go nuts.
You know, you were asking about summer reading and working for Travel Portland and having the hotels be so important to what we do. You know what book the Heathman Hotel is mentioned in that I'm reading? 50 Shades of Grey. I just heard it in the audience. So does that count as Portland summer reading? Because the Heathman is in there, so to me it counts.
We will now take questions from the floor. As always, we invite members to the microphone to ask their question. Asking questions at the Friday Forum microphone is a privilege of City Club membership. Before asking your question, please identify yourself as a City Club member and ask your question in 30 seconds or less. If I flash this question mark card, it means please wrap up your question. Also, I will read at least one audience member question on the index cards.
I'm Barnes Ellis, and I'm a member of the club. And I was listening to each of you And I think I'm right, at least 2 of you moved to Portland and then started what you're doing. That may be true of all 4 of you. My question is, because I think what you're doing is great, I think Portland is having a wonderful experience here. What can we as a city do to get more people like you to keep coming and doing more of what you're doing?
Thomas first again? Okay. Next one, somebody else gets first, okay. This is what I learned today. Don't ever sit on the end. But here we go. What can we do to get more people? Well, you can be an audience member for all of these things. That's the most important thing we need from people, and that ensures that they all thrive. So, look over your summer schedule and plan events and bring your friends, and make the most of it, because I know only too well it's very compelling to sit at home and watch TV at night. I can do that very well, but I always am glad I got out and went to an event. I never regret getting out. So be an audience member, and things will thrive and more people will come.
I agree. I would say that the ability for looking at even on a wider scale, there's a lot of discussion on arts in schools and stuff going on that we're a big part of because our kids are in schools, but also it feels like those kids really need the kind of focus that the other programs like ourselves and are independently thriving, that ability to kind of bring that next generation up is going to kind of ensure that this continues. And so Portland being such a great arts place, it seems really compelling to kind of think about what we're doing with the kids and kind of giving them that exposure and that ability to kind of take the next reins from all of us, and so it continues. So it's a very individualistic vision that ends up being very collaborative once, for each of us, that you end up creating something very much that is owned by the city and, even wider circles as a cultural, but rooted here. So audience and kind of, I think, the next generation, somehow keeping an eye on them.
Yeah, I think now it's an unusual time. A lot of people are coming to Portland. A lot of younger, well-educated, smart people from other cities are coming here. It is the culture of Portland now, and they're coming because there are a lot more of us. There's an attitude about. We call it the agents of change, people who have a social and political sensibilities, who are here because they feel like they can actually make a difference and they can do things like we're doing, and it'll be appreciated, it'll be attended, it'll be funded, which is not exactly, is a little bit of an issue. Funding for the arts in Portland is pretty dismal. So supporting it through audience, supporting it through your commitment to sponsorship or membership. And I agree, arts education is a really important piece, and we're working on solving that as a community, as a cultural community now.
I think one of the greatest themes of Portland history, and my family moved here early in the 20th century. But it's really, regardless of what chapter you look at, it's really been, we've been a city that's really valued quality of life, and a lot of what we've done has been in championing quality of life. And whether you're talking about, Waterfront Park or Pioneer Square or transit or the urban growth boundary, all these things that really is why a lot of us are able to do what we're able to do, and really what is the reason behind people are coming to this city is really what we've all created. I think it's extending that legacy, and what that means is exactly what Victoria just said. It's supporting the arts, it's defending quality of life. Maybe you don't go to Feast Portland, of course I'd love you to, but support the community by supporting your neighborhood restaurants. If you want those chefs to succeed, support them, patron those restaurants. Buy local art, attend local shows. That's really what's going to drive this and make this viable, and that in turn will drive much, much bigger things. But I think it just starts with all of us to just be really good, informed citizens and champion what we believe in.
And I just want to add that one of the obvious ways to get more people to come to Portland is for people to know about Portland. And that's a function of the media. We bring travel writers and other kinds of writers, food writers, art writers to Portland. We get wonderful coverage all over the United States in the New York Times. They love us in New York and talk about us. And then people hear about it, come here to visit, and then they go, wow, I want to live here. Every group that we bring to town, every meeting and convention, there's somebody in that meeting and convention that always says to us, I want to move to Portland. So if we really want to draw more creative and wonderful people to Portland, getting the word out there and not keeping it a secret, but tooting our horn a little bit is one of the ways to do it.
Roger Meyer, City Club member, pediatrician. I'd like to ask the panel how we can make the city and its art scene more kid-friendly. I really think that some of the permanent art, for example, our Rotary Club did a marble or a bear statue in Jameson, and I wonder what you feel we could do on an ongoing basis that would make the city more kid-friendly and more ongoing, not just a kiss and run one event, but to make the whole city more amenable to kids.
I think it's got to start with art education. We've talked about the crisis in our public schools here for a long time, but one of the primary pieces of that is, there really are not our arts educators in the school. And so the kids are not being brought up with the sensibilities of art or the art experiences that we did when we were kids in the public school system. So, that's the most fundamental thing, is starting through hands-on experience with youth and families in the school system. Everything else comes from there. Yeah, making art, exactly.
I can put in a plug for organ repertory singers. I sing with organ repertory singers, and they have a program of kids choirs, and they have them graduated from all levels. So if we don't get the music in the schools, in addition to it, hopefully, because hopefully we will get the music back in the schools, but the kids have the opportunity to sing in choirs for the organ rep singers choir, for example. That's one thing to do. I think participating in children's programs at the Film Center or children's programs in acting or dance and giving them exposure to all those things, if they don't get them through school, is to get them through other extracurricular activities, and they grow up with that sensibility of art has to be a part of my life, and I will participate in it forever.
I just want to add on to that, too. Food is the same way. We have an epidemic in this country with childhood obesity and disease, and it's really, it is truly what is driving a lot of our societal problems is our relationship with food. And if there's a way to teach kids to cook at a younger age and really have them have an understanding of food that isn't processed food, that's a big piece too. But again, local as much as you can, and but it truly does come back to education, and we're not nailing it there.
Yeah, I think you'll find all of us will say education, education, education for that, and all arts organizations in Portland and pretty much everywhere are really paying attention to this and trying to engage children. And the Film Center, we have summer camps for kids, and the Portland Art Museum, which we're part of, we have free days, and there's quite a bit of energy spent on that very issue. And Portland is pretty good. There's a lot of things to do with kids here, but there's always more to be done.
I think the thoughtfulness of all these events, of how they treat kids and kind of expose them, interweave with other kids' events. The good thing about Portland is it's very collaborative and I think that collaboration between just thinking, oh, here's this other great organization, they can work with us, and that interlocking kind of networking kind of behavior in Portland across boundaries, across schools, across organizations, it needs to be kind of encouraged and celebrated and kind of recognized when it's working well, because that is Portland's strength. It really has big dialogues on big scales, and it doesn't break down to the kind of shouting matches that can kind of paralyze what should be a normal conversation that you could have. And it works here in Portland, and it's a big part of the strength.
Okay. Paddy Tillett, City Club member. Monocle magazine has just published its list of 25 best cities to live in the world. And I'm sure that one of the reasons that Portland is amongst them is because of the sort of vitality that your organizations bring to the community. I'm interested in how we can sustain that vitality over the years. And I'm interested to hear what obstacles you see to organizations like yours and other people who contribute in this way to the community find to doing so, and what venues we lack, or venues or facilities, whatever, that we lack that would enable us to grow more.
Infrastructure side, in presenting for performing arts, we really do have a problem. We have more desire for presentation than we have physical spaces to do it in. So looking at, and RAC has done an assessment on venues here. Looking at the basic infrastructure for presenting is a good start, but it comes back to the same question, the very first question. Sustaining this is funding. It really is an issue of funding. This is a community that has a desire to participate, and we've got a lot of generosity and it's certainly an in-kind and people willing to be part of something and to donate their time and their resources to do it. But we really do have a funding issue for the existing organizations in the city, and it's going to be hard to continue to grow and make new organizations if we can't fund those that exist within our community. One of I alluded to us trying to solve the problem. That's the Creative Advocacy Network and the new idea for funding in Portland Public Schools and some assets for existing organizations that will come up on our ballot in November. We should be, we as a community are trying to solve this problem ourselves.
For us, we look at our future is kind of something that's a very organic structure. We don't really have a lot of sponsors, or we're pretty independent in terms of, because music festivals are live and die either off sponsorship, and we very early on kind of looked at sustainability, saying, so we're very much just 100% audience driven, for the most part, with some small sponsorship. So we're very much exposed to, if we mess up or anything like that people won't come, we would go away. So for us, it's a matter of staying true to kind of the principles and the collaboration and the dialogue, and that is kind of the risk, is that you can kind of get ahead of yourself or stop having these kind of dialogues where you're able to pull off very complicated, very sophisticated experiences, and there are innumerable risks for all of us, from venue to, there are big risks out there. So what you don't see in these organizations is that huge organizational challenge, and so most of our personal risks are things that are hard to change every year. We look at the community and how they would sustain these things as just the vitality of Portland, the neighborhoods, all of those things reinventing themselves. Musicians feed into what we are for that year. We're a very kind of contemporary reflection of what's going on. So hope that nobody hits a big rock, and we'll be here for a long time.
May I ask a question from the audience that relates to that? Can you describe the process you go through in curating your festival and choosing the artists and chefs and films to feature?
With that, for top-down, that's a year-long process. Every film I see, I think, would that make a good top-down film? And, as I said before, the priority for me at the Film Center is to work with Northwest filmmakers. So I see about 500 Northwest filmmakers work a year for our festival. But then I get to go home and watch Turner Classic Movies, or I was in Italy last week, and I asked a guy in a cinema library, what are his favorite cult films, and he gave me these two films I had never heard of. One is about a hair-covered woman, just crazy stuff. So I'll put that on my list and I'll watch that. And so that's what I do all year. I'm always keeping something in mind for Top Down. It has to be fun. It has to really move along. And the more rare it is, the better. Things that people haven't heard of or at least haven't thought about for a while. That's the kind of thing I like to program.
For us at Pickathon, the music is something that we are very collaborative about. So I don't profess to be an expert in all musical genres, and I get a lot of pleasure out of the kind of humongous broad net among people that I trust, writers, artists, that have 10, 12 favorite albums of 2011, 12. We're very contemporary focused on what is the essence of a particular music scene at that moment. And we look very broadly across lots of different worlds. So we can swell to something ridiculous like, 10,000, ideas that we whittle down to 50. It just really, that kind of process and collaboration of saying, oh no, if you were in the garage psychedelic punk scene, this is the best thing you've ever heard. I'm like, I don't know anything about it, or I do know something, but that debate ends up usually being kind of a consensus, because there really is, in the bluegrass world, we're bringing a couple artists, one out of Southwest Virginia, no one has ever heard of. I know even my hardcore bluegrass friends, Ted Jones and the Tar Heel Boys, and Danny Paisley is another one from Ohio. Both of them have never been here, but they are, if you love that music, this is like red meat for those people. They fall over themselves when they encounter this. They're like, oh my Lord, I've never in my years thought this guy could be like this. So that's a really fun thing and we look to collaborate to like find that real, we call it just kind of the essence of a particular world and put it all together. So that juxtaposition and comfort level, you never really can be comfortable as much as you would think at Pickathon, because a style of music's going to come on that you're not really listening to all the time, but it will happen to either confuse you because you'll go, I thought I didn't like that, but I think I like that band. So, or you'll be like, wow, I'm a true believer. And so that's how we try to curate, is that keep that experience and that juxtaposition and the real vitality of those different worlds as kind of the essence.
I like that you use the word curate. Our TBA is a highly curated program. We have an artistic director who looks at Actually, we have an artistic director, a program director in performing arts, and a visual art curator. And between them, they probably travel 50% of the time together, hundreds of days in other countries and other cities and other places, and out locally and regionally looking and at work, trying to look at what is innovative now, what is happening that is reflecting this current moment in our culture, and then trying to find some way to tie those all together with one big umbrella, or maybe not, maybe show opposing ideas, but that are talking about the current contemporary time. So right now, our artistic director is at Creative Time and our Creative Capital retreat. She has traveled, I think, to maybe 4 or 5 countries in the last 3 months. Our visual art director is less so in the last few months, but has probably between them 6 countries in a year at least, looking at, and all the festivals throughout the city. I mean, this job doesn't suck. That way. It's a pretty good job to be able to do. You saw the excitement that Thomas displayed when he said, I get to do this. I get to watch these shows. I get to see these films. They're out seeing a lot of work and then trying to figure out what represents an interesting and innovative idea now.
Yeah, I think programming for us we always liken it to traffic direction. It's not it's really not, us sitting around saying, oh, who could we bring? Or, a lot of times, I'll use a few examples. April Bloomfield and Jen Lewis, they're friends. They wanted to do a dinner together. Jen approached us, and, she helped us set that up. There's this wonderful little restaurant called Aviary on Alberta that I recommend you check out. Very creative restaurant, and a couple of them had worked with Chef Anita Lowe in New York City. So, that's one of the dinners we're curating. With our Friday night market, we worked pretty early on and, talked to Andy Ricker from Pok Pok about that. And, we're bringing in David Thompson from Thailand, who's like one of the global authorities on Thai street food. And he's coming over, because it was Andy who really hooked us up with him. So, a lot of our programming is really driven through the community of chefs that we work with. It's and less so driven by us, and I think that guarantees the best results. It's like, you really are serving a community.
We have run out of time for further questions, and we'll have to stop so we can follow the good counsel from our speakers and go out and enjoy Oregon summer. Please join us on September 7th for our first Friday forum of a very, very busy fall season. Our September 7th guest will be Oregon's first Chief Education Officer, Rudy Crew. As students are returning to schools and colleges across the state, we'll hear from the person the Oregonian Editorial Board identifies as the key player shaping the next decade of public education in Oregon. And as we close for today, please join me in offering sincere thanks to today's speakers, Victoria Fry, Thomas Phillipson, Zale Schoenborn, Barbara Steinfeld, and Mike Zeeland.